Right now at noon, plows are out in communities all across southern Wisconsin trying to clear last night's snow. And a man wanted for killing an elderly man outside a casino has been found and arrested, all thanks to a snowplow driver.
This is News 3 at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Kane. Thanks for tuning in to News 3 on this Wednesday afternoon. We'll get to those stories in a bit. But first, let's head outside of the weather patio where meteorologist Dave Caulfield has a look at our first alert forecast. It looks like the snow has come to.
Yes, Mark, we just had that snow come to an end on the backyard patio, but not before. About 7.5 inches of snow fell. I measured at about 11 this morning, and not too much fell after that. And we also do have some other snow totals to show you. So the big winners are Sun Prairie and Arena in Iowa County, both picking up 9 inches of snow. As I mentioned, 7.5 in the backyard. This is some fresh snow, so it is quite bright out here. So excuse my squinting at the camera. Beaver Dam, about 7 inches of snow, and Lancaster 7 as well. Poignette picking up 4 inches. So as we take a look at Madison on our WISC-TV Skycam high above my head, we have seen a fast clearing of those skies. Nothing like it was just a few hours ago. So some clearing is definitely possible for the rest of us by the time we get to later this afternoon. You can see a lot of us not dealing with snow anymore, although a few flurries are still possible for the next few hours. Temperatures are in the 20s for most of us. That's where they'll remain. And then wind chills are in the single digits. So it still feels a little bit chilly outside, but definitely an improvement in the weather department compared to this morning when we were still picking up some heavy snow. So temperatures are staying pretty steady in the 20s. By the time we get to later this evening, we could dip into the teens. I do think we'll see clear skies as we head into the overnight hours, but those clouds will be right back with us as we head into Thursday morning with temperatures in the single digits. And our attention now that the snow has stopped, at least in Madison, and for many of us across southern Wisconsin, our attention turns to the bitterly cold air on the way. We're talking about temperatures near zero, wind chills as low as -30 to -35 over the next couple of days. So we'll take a closer look at that in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
So this will be balmy compared to that. All right, Dave is gone. Let's move along now. Snow tapering off. Now is the time to start cleaning up. Rose Schmidt joins us live in downtown Madison with a look at what some residents are dealing with this noon. Rose?
Well, Mark, actually, luckily, this street is looking pretty good, better than some of the streets we have seen. We know that there's some streets that definitely have not been plowed, but Madison Streets Division wants to make sure that you know that if your neighborhood hasn't been plowed yet, don't worry, the plows are on their way. Now, actually, there's cars here that are buried in the snow. You can see this definitely covered just like all these cars along this street. Now, actually, I'm going to give you some numbers. It's 14 to 16 hours is how long it takes the entire city of Madison to be plowed. We know that the operation started around 7 a.m. this morning. That's when they ramped up. Actually, the plows were out overnight. And I want to tell you that there are 150 pieces of equipment that are on the road at this time plowing the streets. But the best advice I can give you is that if you get into an emergency, please make sure that you are calling 911.
Call 911. Just call. You know, if there's an emergency situation at your house or you have a medical condition or something like that, we are in touch with the Dane County Dispatch. If some sort of emergency situation happens where they need to get an ambulance or a fire truck or a police car to a particular spot, we will get them there. You know, that I wouldn't be too nervous about that bit. So we hear that from time to time too, like, oh, somebody has a heart condition or things like that, which is understandably, it'd be nerve-wracking if I was in that boat too, but if you need emergency services, call 911. Our plows will get them there. Now, patience wins the day, really, when it comes to this, both in commuting through the city and waiting for that street to be plowed. We will be there. It just takes some time.
And that was Brian Johnson from the Madison Streets Division. The best advice he gave me is that just be patient and slow down when you're coming on these roads. Make sure you're giving plows as much room as possible because they need to do their job too. And of course, the challenge that they've faced today is that it kept snowing all morning. So normally they wait to plow the roads until it stops, but that wasn't an option today. So actually they're on the roads now. snow not coming down so much anymore, and so hopefully it'll make it easier for them to do their job. All right, I'm going to send it back to you, Mark.
Patience is the key. Rose Schmidt reporting live for us from downtown Madison. Thank you. The interstate is closed in both directions in Mauston due to several crashes near the Highway 82 exit. Both the eastbound and westbound lanes are closed. The DOT has not provided any estimates on when those lanes will reopen. Sun Prairie's fire chief says the weather was a factor in their response to a house fire last night. The fire spread from the family's garage to their home around 9 o'clock. Crews were delayed by snow on the roads. 2 people were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation, but both were treated and released. There's no word yet on what caused that fire. And when you head out to shovel after this storm, Madison Water Utility is asking that you clear away any snow that builds up around your neighborhood fire hydrant. There are more than 9,000 hydrants within city limits. Crews say having them cleared can make all the difference during emergencies. Dane County snowmobile trails are now open. All 500 trails in Dane County opened at noon. Just a reminder, you'll need a state snowmobile pass to use on the trails, and be sure to watch out for any open water. And be sure to stay up to date on snow totals. Download our Channel 3000 First Alert and Weather and Traffic app. It's free on your mobile devices. A man charged with killing someone outside a Sauk County casino has been arrested. 68-year-old Robert Pulvermacher was arrested in Madison overnight. Madison police say a snowplow driver called after seeing someone get dropped off near Pulvermeyer Cartage. That's a business on the Far East Side. Pulvermacher has been taken to the Sauk County Jail. He's accused of stabbing and killing 88-year-old Harold Johnson earlier this month in Johnson's car outside the Ho Chunk Casino in Sauk County. The partial government shutdown is in month 2 now and shows no signs of ending. Both sides are pushing ahead with plans that others refuse to support. The Senate is preparing to vote tomorrow on 2 separate bills to reopen the government. One is built around President Trump's proposal to get $5.7 billion for a border wall in exchange for temporary protections for immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. The other is a bill House Democrats passed to fund the government through February 8th without money for the wall.
It will allow us to then debate without hostage taking, without temper tantrum, without anything, how we can best do border security.
The opportunity to end all this is staring us right in the face. That's why we'll vote on this legislation on the Senate floor this week.
As CBS News polls say, the border wall is not worth a government shutdown. The poll also shows 65% of Republicans say President Trump should not sign any budget that doesn't include wall funding, while 69% of Democrats say Congress should refuse to fund the wall. And there's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, we'll see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
It's savory, juicy, has a caramelized glaze, and it's one of our top-rated recipes. Just wait until you see it. Here in the Test Kitchen, we love reading your comments on Facebook and on MrFood.com. They help us plan what recipes to create and which ones to feature. And when a recipe stands out with tons of great comments, like the meatloaf we're making today, you can bet we'll be sharing it with you. For this, all we do is combine a couple pounds of ground beef with a finely chopped onion and green pepper. Then we add an egg, Italian breadcrumbs, some ketchup, and a bit of black pepper. And the trick to making any good meatloaf is you want to mix everything gently. This will keep it nice and tender. After putting it in a loaf pan, we gently pat it down so it holds its shape and doesn't crumble when it's baked. After baking it for about an hour, we spoon the remaining ketchup on the top and finish it with some brown sugar before popping it back in the oven for a few more minutes. You see, the combo of the ketchup and the brown sugar creates a to-die-for glaze that puts this meatloaf in a league of its own. So why not hop on your computer, tablet, or smartphone and grab the recipe for our old-fashioned meatloaf so you can make this for your family and see what all the hubbub is all about. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a classic comforting way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
All right, Howard, thank you. The snow starting to taper off, but the really cold weather is about to make another return. Dave's got the details in our first alert forecast coming up.
Door.
Well, General Motors is responding to allegations of racism at one plant. Here's Diane King Hall with today's Money Watch report.
After months of sidestepping allegations of racism, General Motors says it is working to identify the employees who created a hostile work environment at a Toledo plant. African-American workers say they were called the N-word, saw nooses, swastikas, and writing on bathroom doors that said whites only. GM says when it identifies those responsible, they will be fired. Meanwhile, Procter & Gamble's out with its quarterly report card, and it did better than expected. The maker of Tide and Pampers says it earned nearly $3.2 billion during its second quarter. The rise in profit was thanks to growth in its beauty, healthcare, and fabric care units. Soon, you won't need your wallet at Target. The retailer says it will begin accepting Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and Google Pay at nearly 2,000 of its stores in the weeks ahead. Apple also announced an expansion of its contactless payment option, which will now be accepted at Taco Bell and Jack in the Box. Gamers are helping set new records. U.S. video game sales hit $43 billion in 2018, according to the NPD Group and Entertainment Software Association. That's up double digits from the previous year. It accounts for sales ranging from consoles to mobile devices and PCs. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
Thanks, Diane. The Dow Industrial's up 26 points at the noon hour. The NASDAQ, however, down 35. Q106 Farm Director Pam Yankee is out of the radio barn today, so here are your farm numbers. And Dave Caulfield's here now with our first alert forecast. Looks like the snow's moving out.
Yes, and that's good news, but especially for the next couple of hours, there still may be some slick roadways out there, so that's something to keep in mind. Just because that snow has stopped falling from the sky doesn't mean the situation on the roads is going to be magically better all of a sudden. Some of us are saying, can we get a little bit of mercy from the snow? Well, this is mercy with the snow, the Akita. That is Gail and Tony. Thank you so much for sending in this photo. And as far as snow totals go, we had some big winners over the last couple of hours, with the morning snow really bumping up these totals. Sun Prairie and Arena, 9 inches of snow. I measured the last hour on the WISC-TV weather patio of 7.5 inches. 7 inches in Beaver Dam and Lancaster, and Poignette coming in at 4 inches. This snow depth map looks a lot different than it did just about a week ago, with about 9 inches to a foot of snow across much of southern Wisconsin into the Green Bay area, close to Milwaukee, and southwestern Wisconsin into northeastern Iowa. Even more than that, about 1.5 feet in some spots, and those numbers could go up as we get the snow totals in from the last few hours as well. Doppler track showing the snow moving out, so that's the good news. But the bad news is the cold weather is going to follow this snow and actually be helped by that snow at the exact same time. So as we zoom in, we could see that flurries still out there for a couple of us, but generally looking at that sunshine coming back across portions of downtown Madison on the Edgewater Skycam. Maybe some higher clouds, but we're starting to see that clearing. On the almanac, forecast high today, 22, so a little bit below normal for this time of year. I say a little bit below normal because temperatures are getting way below normal as we head into Friday and Saturday, especially during the morning hours. We'll really have to watch some dangerous wind chills of about -30 to -35 possible, lows deep into the negatives of about -10 to -15. And a similar story, maybe a little bit better on Saturday morning, but not by much. We have to wait until Sunday to get some relief from those very cold temperatures. But then Sunday, especially at night, we get our next chance of accumulating snow. So it really isn't seeming to end in the winter department over the next couple of days and into the weekend as well. So on future track, we should be okay in the temperature department, only dealing with the single digits until we get this next cold front to come through, maybe bringing us a few flurries on Thursday, but that's about it. But then the frigid weather really starts to arrive. We're still expecting, or we could be expecting, wind chills to start off Friday morning in the -30 to -35 range. Some of us could approach -40, not out of the question, especially with this fresh snow. Then our next snowfall, or at least potential snowfall, arrives on Sunday night into Monday. Still a little bit too early for totals on that one, but it could hang around a little bit, which could bump up some of those snow totals. So stay tuned for updates on that. And speaking of the roads, I do want to mention, we mentioned it earlier in the show, but I-94 eastbound is closed from about Camp Douglas to Linden Station. There's no real update on when that will be reopened. Just wanted to give you a sense of what the thinking is with that. Alert days in the forecast for Friday and Saturday for bitterly cold temperatures and wind chills. And as I mentioned, our next chance of accumulating snow arrives late Sunday into Monday.
I mean, 7.5 inches is not a huge amount, but we're not used to it.
Right, exactly. And especially when we keep getting events like this day, or kind of
every other
day, something like that. So it can add up quickly, and that's what we're seeing.
It sure is.
Yes.
All right, Dave, thank you. There's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, from life on the streets to life in the kitchen, how these chefs got their unusual start in the restaurant world. That's next. From drug dealing to foodies, two California friends decided that a life of crime was not what they wanted, so they turned to the kitchen and found a more savory success story.
The road taken by best friends Malachi Spank Jenkins and Roberto News Smith to this kitchen is one nobody ever would have imagined.
You don't plan to go to jail or anything, like, you know what I'm saying? But I got tired of that.
Up until 5 years ago, these self-described gang members of the Crips and Bloods weren't selling food like they are today at their pop-up in San Francisco, but instead selling drugs and getting into trouble.
You put a smile on people's faces, but I just feel like it wasn't for the right reason.
One day, when they were short of cash, a crazy idea inspired by their grandma. Instead of selling drugs,
let's sell food. He like, sell food? Yeah.
With the help of Instagram and tens of thousands of fans,
I called my daughter, who's standing right here, and she said, oh, yeah, I followed him on Instagram. Let's go.
The unlikely pop-up sensation Trap Kitchen was born.
They had undercover agents outside of my house trying to figure out what we was selling inside of it. They found this, pineapples.
Inside Isla Vida restaurant, a sold-out crowd eager to taste the duo's famous pineapple rice bowl and more.
We came all the way from L.A. to Belmont and drove here in the school bus to get some of this food. The hype was worth it.
They have this message for anyone who dreams of the impossible.
You don't have to be an athlete or a rapper just to get out. You can pick a career and blow yourself up, make it as big as you want it.
And the duo hopes to have a brick and mortar location one day. The two also have released cookbooks that can be found online. Good for them.
Yeah, that's really
Absolutely. Great story. All right. Little break from the snow with cold in between?
Yes.
Okay.
And the good news is that snow is wrapped up basically everywhere. A few flurries are still possible across southern Wisconsin for the next hour or so. And keep in mind those road conditions are still going to be a little bit dicey, especially on those secondary or side roads heading into this evening. So that's something to kind of keep in the forefront of your mind. Temperatures will dip into the teens and single digits. The clouds will be back by the time we get to tomorrow. Then the bitterly cold air arrives for Friday and Saturday.
Old man winter's here.
Yes.
All right, Dave, thank you. We'll see you back here at 4. In the meantime, have a great afternoon. Be careful out there.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.